Alabama's AD, Greg Byrne, came out and was asking for NIL money. Is that what it was?
Did you read this thing?
I read it pretty quickly.
It's several paragraphs long. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I hate that happened to you, or I'm really happy that happened to you.
It starts off, Alabama fans, over the past few years, there have been drastic changes in college athletics. We've been careful during this transition period to protect our position at the top of college athletics, blah, blah, blah. Setting up the collective, for fans to donate to the collective. I do want to read one part, though, here in the middle. You have heard examples of other teams using promises of million-dollar paydays to lure away our players or convince them to not come to Alabama. It is time for the Bama Nation to fight back. Set aside the fact that Alabama has gotten some of the best transfers over the past few years. I mean, they took Keon Sabb from Michigan, six-figure deal. Jamison Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs both are balling for the Lions right now. Those were two marquee transfers they got from Georgia Tech and OSU. Set that aside. But haven't the fans been footing the bill enough, man? Like, these schools get $70 million each year just from Disney on the TV deal.
Yeah, part of me, this kind of feels like, the king, complaining about he doesn't have enough money, or it's not going good enough, or you didn't get the right cherries for him. Like, if this was a place that didn't have money, not saying that Alabama has as much money as what Michigan does with the $231 billion backer, but they're one of the top players in the game. On one hand, I'm like, yes, it does sound like that. Like you're making the middle class or the people that already dump a bunch of money into the program, ask them to pay more. But to me, I get why he would say it. Like, you're trying to raise as much money as possible. This is like one of those campaign emails. I thought we were done with this after the election until the next one, where they send you something like, hey, we got to fight back against the other side. So even if you send $9.99, it's going to help out. That's what it reminds me of. But to me, I feel like there's got to be a more creative way to do it. Why do you just not have the commercial that's like got like the Sarah McLachlan music in the background? It's like, for 99 cents a day or less than a cup of coffee, you can get us a defensive lineman. Or like, just have a little bit more creativity about it. But yes, it does feel like the rich screaming at the middle class to give them money when they're already paying taxes. It does have that feel. But at what point do we get those commercials? I think it would be hilarious. I think the first school that does it may make a lot of money off donations just because it's funny. Just like the ones we see overseas, are the ones about animals, that are like, oh, like this humane society's overrun, for $1.25 a day, you can find Roscoe a home. Like, why can't you do that with like a wide receiver? Like, we need a wide receiver, so let's throw a commercial out there and get the people going. I mean, what do you think, Blaine?
I mean, if anybody does a commercial, I think we should do it as a spoof commercial. I think that'd be absolutely hilarious. But isn't it a type of, is Rome burning? Is Rome, is this like is the tsunami coming for Alabama and you can see it through the airplane window?
See, I talked about this.
Get away from it?
I talked about this the other day. I don't think Alabama is going to disappear into irrelevance or there's a 5-alarm fire going on. It's just a questionable time there because there was a changing of the guard in leadership. You lost the greatest head football coach of all time. The game is evolving that I think helps out the parity in it. And you didn't make the college football playoff this year. But to me, it's why not just come out and say, hey, you don't have to give me all the details about like, oh, we really don't have that much money and these guys are plucking all these players from us. Why don't you come out and say, hey, we're trying to raise as much money as possible. We're trying to keep putting one of the best products out on the field. We got to be able to have this money to compete with everybody in the 1%, the 1% of the 1%. If you can donate some money to us, great. If not, we just appreciate you buying tickets and going to the game. Why not go about it like that instead of make it sound like you're Oliver Twist?
I'm so used to Alabama being a step ahead of everybody. When it comes to everything in college football, I'm not used to seeing this from anything Alabama, especially the Alabama AD, coming out and saying this with Nick Saban, no matter what it was, no matter what they threw their way, they were always a step ahead of everybody else, and now it just doesn't seem like
So you're saying that you feel like this statement with what he said and the way that he, typed it out shows weakness or maybe a lack of forethought.
If Nick Saban's the head coach, does he do this?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think
he had no problem when they were plucking the best players from other schools.
I think he'd have told him that makes us look weak. Don't put it out like that.
Exactly.
And I don't think Greg Byrne's a weak person. He's obviously a very smart man to get in the position that he's in. I know a lot of people think highly of him. But this does, it just, man, it just kind of reeks a little bit of desperation when I don't think you have to sound desperate.
I mean, I've been saying this, a similar sentiment that I just made, I've been saying about some of the wealthiest boosters and donors. And look, you know, we have ties to Alabama and some of these schools. We know some of the boosters and donors who are giving a lot of this money. And I mean, I've even talked to some of them in some instances. It's like even they who have millions and millions of dollars are kind of tired of footing the entire bill to get more and more players when the TV deals were $70 million or the college football playoff deal is worth $10 billion over 10 years or whatever the exact specifics of it are. Forget the common man. The common man who already goes above and beyond to spring for, say, season tickets, right? Or spends that extra bit of money to get his 4 or 5 person family to a neutral site bowl game or college football playoff game, or in this case, first round, second round, maybe you have to go to California to watch a Rose Bowl or something like that. Now, like, even more money?
Well, if I'm an Alabama fan, part of me is like, wait a minute. You want me, the majority middle class, maybe even lower, a little lower than middle class, some higher than middle class. It's not, you know, a monolith. I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush. If I'm an Alabama fan, I'm like, wait a minute. We didn't make the playoff this year. We got a new coach. We're paying him how much a year? I just saw Mike Norvell give $4.5 million back to Florida State. I just saw Brian Kelly give $1 million to the NIL fund at LSU. Why are you coming and asking me? I'm the baker, dog, in the town. You're paying this cat $10 million a year to go 9-3 and not make the playoff? Why don't you go ask him for some money instead of asking me for some money?
Like, if you're a Cowboys fan and I'm supporting my team, the Dallas Cowboys, because I bought the PSL, the seat license season tickets or whatever, got all 3 of my sons a Dak Prescott jersey. Like, Jerry Jones isn't putting out emails to say, like, hey, donate more money.
No, I think if you're going to go about it, I've got no problem with you asking for it, but I think there's a way that you don't sound desperate or make it seem like, you know, you're Oliver Twist or at the bottom of the barrel. This is like gangs in New York. You're just trying to find a butcher knife to go fight in the middle of the square. I just don't like the way they went about it. Hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by. It means the world to us, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Hopefully it's a little bit of both. We love engaging. Y'all are the best audience in the world. And please make sure you hit that subscribe button because it helps everybody out.